Now, if you want to do this, compress the golf ball like the top pros in the world, but no matter how hard you try, you look like this. Scooping it, hitting it high, hitting it weak, no compression on the shots, no good penetrating ball flight. Absolutely. I'm going to talk about in this video how we're going to go about changing it and why you can't compress that golf ball no matter how hard you try, because there is 3 big reasons of why golfers struggle to compress the golf ball so much. So let's get straight into it, because once you fix these, you're going to start compressing the golf ball just like that. So number 1, your club face is way too open in your golf swing. So an open club face will make it impossible for you to be able to compress that golf ball. Because when we're compressing the golf ball, what are we doing? We're getting forward shaft lean at impact, where the hands are ahead of that club head to create that nice trapped compression in there. But what we've got to know, when we have forward shaft lean, look what happens to the club face. See how the more my hands are forward, the more the club face opens up, points more out towards the right. So if my club face is coming down wide open, there's no way that I'm going to have forward shaft lean, because that's going to make the ball go off the planet right. So what we would see players do, they will always either throw their hands, early release it, scoop it coming into the golf ball, because if the club face is open and we scoop it, the club face then closes back up. They'll either do that motion, which will mean no compression at all, you're adding loft, not de-lofting it, or they would massively flip their hands going through the golf ball, really over square it to get that toe of the club wrapping over to close that face off. And the biggest reason I see golfers open up that club face, and it's right in the beginning of their swing. I'll see golfers have this nasty forearm rotation. So look at my watch. See how my watch is pointing really just to the right of my target line there. And then forearm roll, it's pointing just above you. So that means my left forearm has rotated a ton. It's had a ton of pronation here. So the tattoo here on the underside of my forearm rolling towards the ground. Look what's happened to the face. It has rolled on the inside and open. So from there, most likely going to have a cup left wrist to the top, and that club face is going to stay hugely open. Then I've got to flip, I'm not going to compress it. So we need to, for golfers, fix that reason, because of the other obvious things. Your grip might be too weak, for example. That can absolutely cause that club face to open, as we know. So make sure you've got a nice standard grip, but let's get that takeaway into a better spot, because if we can get back in our takeaway and make sure, instead of, let's say, this watch face pointing up and away, have it point down, let's say at the driving range, to a tray of balls in front of you. Because if you can get that club face pointing at the tray of balls, or get that watch, we would say, at the tray of balls, technically the club face will be pointing at it slightly as well, if the tray of balls was on the outside there. But you can see club face is nice and square to my spine angle. So that's one thing to remember, guys. A square club face means the club face is square to your spine angle or square to the swing arc. It does not mean square to the target. Big misconception. Players will see their club face slightly open prior to impact and think, oh no, it's open to my target. It's not, it's square to the arc we're swinging on. But we've got to make sure it's square early with a good takeaway. So the drill to be able to fix this, grab an alignment stick, put an alignment stick up the left-hand side of your golf club, and see you have a lot of it coming up here where it touches your left side. If you have a rolly takeaway which opens the face, you're going to see now how that massively points away from me. So you can see how that alignment stick there gets away from me, points out in front, and then from there, what have I got to do? Again, I've got to early release and flip it. It's not going to happen. So we want this to slide down our side, slide down that left side as we're coming back. You're going to see if we can get it sliding down the left side in that takeaway. Club face is now square to my spine angle, which that without this means that I can keep that face square to the arc, continue to turn, then have good angles onto that golf ball. Be able to compress it nicely with that square face. So let's get this. Let's do a bunch of feels. Okay, there we go. Sliding it down. Then just that takeaway is all we want to feel there. And feel that exact same motion. Good. Do a couple of rehearsals, feeling like that stick's sliding down your side. And then that same feeling into a normal fluid swing. And like we said, guys, that nice square face is going to make you able to continue to present that golf club into the golf ball with a little bit of forward shaft lean to be able to compress it, along with a nice downward angle attack. So the second reason of why golfers can't have that nice compression and what's stopping you is ultimately the upper body hanging back in the downswing. This is an absolute killer, because if you're hanging the upper body back and moving it more away from the golf ball, and so many of you are actually trying to do this, two things are going to happen from there that are going to kill your ability to be able to compress the golf ball. One, if we're hanging back, you ended up going to have to throw the club into the golf ball to get that club to the ball, because your body's not going to bring it to the golf ball. So you're going to have to throw your angles of your wrists last minute if the upper body moves away. You've got to think, if your upper body is moving away from the target, the club has got to go towards the target, which means if the club head does that, you're going to then get a ton of course, awful little flip. You're not going to be able to compress the golf ball. So that's one big reason. Secondly, your low point is going to get behind the golf ball. So you're not going to be hitting down sufficiently. We need to hit down to be able to compress that golf ball with an iron. So if we are moving that upper body back, the lowest point of our swing arc is going to get either level with the golf ball or behind it. So here's a way to view low point. Your left chest. Wherever the left chest is in the swing, that's where the lowest point of our swing arc is. So of course, if we're hitting ball and turf, we would need the lowest point of our arc to be just after the golf ball. So we can hit ball, then turf, then get to our lowest point, then through the shot. We need our left side of our chest to be after the ball to do that. That's going to help us hit down. If it's behind the golf ball, that means our lowest point, again, is going to be behind. Again, even if it is level with the golf ball, that left side of the chest, still hanging back too much. That means the lowest point of the swing arc is going to be at the ball. You're going to then enter the ground early, or you're going to hit it a little bit thinny, because you have to, of course, have that club get a little bit here before we get to that lowest point. So we need to make sure that we are preventing this upper body from having that nasty hang back movement. We can't be doing that. We need that upper body to be shifting forward to get that left side of the chest in front of that ball. So you can see, it doesn't need to be a huge movement, but it needs to be enough, and golfers need to stop trying to have that big hang back movement. So if we can get our body not hanging back and shifting towards that target, we're going to be able to compress the golf ball so much easier. So the best way to do it with a drill is this. So this is the swing plate. So ultimately a long alignment stick. So I've got the swing plate with an extension pole attachment here. So this really helped my own game here. So if we get something like the swing plate here, have it just around 4 fingers or so outside the right side of my head. If I have any hang back of the upper body, I'm going to hit it with my head. Of course, as we know, we're not going to compress the golf ball if we hang back with that upper body with an iron. So that's where, if I can then hit a shot and make sure that I am not hitting this stick with my head, I'm going to be moving that upper body sufficiently enough towards the target along with my lower body, the weight and the pressure shift, to be able to get that downward of angle of attack, which we need with an iron to be able to compress the golf ball. And then of course, when we're shifting better, look what happens as a byproduct, shaft lean. So again, you're going to be compressing the golf ball. It's okay, let me do that. Hit balls here, make sure I'm not hitting that with my head. Again, if I have a good takeaway as well, I'm going to be compressing the golf ball just like that. And if you want a swing plate, there is a link in the description to get a discount off one of these. So the third reason here to why you can't compress the golf ball is because you are unloading your angles in the downswing way too early. So a lot of golfers who are trying to hit the ball with their arms will instinctively do this. So that's where you're starting that downswing. The angles of your wrists here start to straighten out. So the downswing ultimately gets wider. When the swing arc gets wider, your body has to stay tall, has to be very devoid of rotation. And that's going to make you have this kind of early release type of flip at that golf ball and chunk it quite often as well. So it's absolutely awful to be able to compress that golf ball. So again, if we want to get into the golf ball with nice shaft lean to be able to create that good compression, we need to maintain those angles of our wrists. We need that. We can't be getting wider. We need to be, if anything, narrower in the downswing. And then if we continue to turn, which that's going to help us incentivize, we're going to be able to deliver this into the golf ball for a little bit of shaft lean here. Now, that's going to immediately, again, if you can then get the takeaway, make sure that upper body isn't falling back and maintain your angles of your wrists, where we could talk about a great drill to be able to get here, then you are absolutely going to be compressing the golf ball straight away. So I'm not just going to give you one drill for this, I'm going to give you two. So the first drill to be able to maintain good angles of your wrists and not have it unload early is to do what we call a pump drill. So a pump drill is where we get to shaft parallel to the ground in a downswing. Nice preloaded angles here, so you can see nice outwardly kind of almost 90-degree-ish. Again, it's not quite because my arm doesn't go dead straight up from here, but you can see we've got a good nice angle of our wrists here. So if I'm in this position, I would ideally want the club head slightly behind my hands, hips slightly rotated, chest fairly square onto where the golf ball is, weight on my left side. And then what I do, I swing up and down, up, down, and on the third one, move through. But as I then swing through the golf ball, it's the feeling is via turning my body through that golf ball. So here we go. So you can see my hands, where are they as well? They're right around my right leg. I'm not out here. That'll cause me to flip and throw. My hands are nicely on my right leg or even on top of the golf ball. But again, guys, they're not on top of the golf ball as in here. They're about a fist distance from my right leg. So let's get into that pump. Pump 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then last one, turn that body up and through. And then that's going to give you the sensation of maintaining those angles of your wrists. So again, on that last one, we don't just move the hands and arms up and through, we turn the body and then turn it through. So we're just getting those wrists into that preloaded position. So then we can just move that body, turn that body, which is then going to be maintained. And like we said, for guys who are very overactive with their arms, a pump drill is great because it takes the arms out of it. You get in that preloaded position. 1, 2, look what I'm doing. I'm just turning my body back and through. And then through, just a little half swing, feeding those good angles. That's what we want to do. Now, the second drill to do with this is another training aid, and this is from JChownGolf. This is called the Lag Pro. So what this does, this gets your wrists into that loaded position. So the technical term with this would be the right wrist into a little bit of extension here. So you can see, because I've got this strap around, and there's this little kind of resistance bands here, all around my middle 2 fingers here, you can see how that resistance pulls this right hand into that spot, so into that nice loaded extended position. So that's where if I try to throw from here, it feels horrendous because there's too much resistance that's happening into my right hand. So if I want to keep this nice and in this kind of nice short position of these resistance bands, not lengthening them, that's going to keep my angles nicely with my wrists and not have me throwing into that golf ball. So I maintain that nice shortened position of these resistance bands all the way through. And that gets me compressing it really nicely, gets all that pump drill stuff, all the good stuff that we want from it into that golf ball really, really nicely. So again, let's do another one. Again, every time it just results in really nice, pure striking. So if you want one of these again, there's a link in the description to get you a nice discount. So if you can get a good takeaway, make sure that club face is staying nice and square. You can get that upper body shifting towards a target, not falling back. And you can make sure you're keeping those loaded angles of your wrists, using that body to move you through that shot. I'll tell you what, you're going to be compressing that golf ball. But if you're still struggling after that, which I very much doubt, there's a link in the description for online lessons with myself on Skillist. It might be another little area in your golf swing that might be unique to yourself. We might need just to make a little tweak and you're going to be compressing it straight away. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button if you want more golf instruction, just like this. Hit the subscribe button, hit that bell button too to be notified anytime I put out a video.